Violent antisocial crimes teenagers recent years, hitting warningly at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people who often seem like aliens suddenly dropping in the midst. In Why Do Young Reconnected? Social commentators all together examine the psychology of the second generation. Takeda notes that home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 1980s that a number of home telephones were placed near the front door. This appears to cause wrong. But why younger people feel safe from the public space of joy and process? Why does that arouse such an anger in others? The key aspect here is that people feel psychologically violated as being subjected to the private telephone space of others, or the personal space of young women applying makeup, as if they are not there. Or worse, as if they are simply part of background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Violent anti an- antisocial antisocial っつってんのか。アンチじゃん。But antisocial crimes by teenagers have shockwave through Japan in recent years, hitting warningly at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in their midst. In Why Do Young Be Connected? Social commentator Toru Takeru examined the psychology of the cell phone generation. Takeda notes that the home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that home telephone surfaced office telephone in number. Home telephones were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private area of the phone. With the appearance of colorless furniture, however, telephone space became increasingly personalized, carvings in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to toggle cell phone and the public space of trains and buses? And why does it allow such anger in others? The Kera speculates that people feel psychological violence as being subjected to the private care home with their brothers' makeup, as if they were not there. And worse, as if they were simply part of background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Violent antisocial crimes by teenagers have sent violent antisocial crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through the family in recent years, hitting warningly at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly trapped in the midst. And why do the young want to be connected? Social commentators told together examine the psychology of second generation. Takeda notes that home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 19th that home telephone passed office phones in number. Home telephones were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and the private area of the home. With the appearance of colors front, however, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the telephone. But why do young people feel the need to talk telephone in the public space of trains and buses? And why does there arouse such anger in others? The killer speculates that people feel like psychological violated and being subject to the private telephone spell of others, repressing the young people as if they are not there, or worse, as if they are simply part of background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Violent anti-social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hitting warningly at cracks the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, all Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in the midst. And why do we young to be connected? Social commentators told together examine the psychology of the second generation. Takeda knows that home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that the home telephone surpassed official infrastructure, halfway between the public and private areas of the home. With the appearance of Carl's phone, however, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to look the telephone in the public space or the buses? Why do the killer speculates that people's psychological biases are being subjected to the private telephone space of the others, or the personal space of younger and apparent makeup, as if they are not there, or worse, as if they are simply part of background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Violent anti-social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, ending a warning across the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On almost every level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in the mess. Why do the young do connected? Social commentators told together examine the psychology of the second generation. Takeda knows that the home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not early 1970s that home telephones surpassed Oxford in number. Home telephone was well halfway between the public and private area of the home. With the appearance of Carlos however, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why young people feel the need to phone cell phone in the public space of trains and buses? And why does it arouse such anger in others? The killer speculates that people feel psychological violence as being other person's special young women are. as if they were not there, or worse, as if they're simply part of the background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. 回読むか。Parent antisocial crimes by teenagers. 暴力的な反社会的な犯罪 by teenagers 10代による have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years. have sent shockwaves が衝撃を与えた through Japan, Japan in recent years 近年の日本に、衝撃を与えた、衝撃を与えて、hinting warningly at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. Hinting at それとなくほのめかす。hinting at cracks 割れ目をそれとなくほのめかしている。与え、割れ目をそれとなくほのめかしている。in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. 現代日本社会の、基礎、現代土台、基礎、the very foundation、まさに基礎の割れ目を、それとなくほのめかしている。warningly 気になるところである。warningly 違う。warningly 心配になるほど割れ目をほのめかしている。on the more early level より日常的なレベルでall of Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed. 年配の日本人はしばしば find themselves puzzled 倒幕させられたり、苛立たせられることに気づく。by the everyday behavior of young people. 若者の毎日の行動によって、who often seem like aliens suddenly drop in their midst. who の先行詞は young people, often seem like aliens. しばしば seem like aliens. エイリアンのように見える。異星人。エイリアンのように見える、suddenly drop in their midst. 彼らの中心に突如として落ちてきた。If I do the young to be connected. なぜ若者はbe connected つながることを望むのかの中で、social commentator 武田、社会コメンテーター、社会評論家の武田徹は examine the psychology 調査している the psychology 心理をof the cell phone generation 携帯電話世代の心理を調査している。武田 notes that home telephone came relatively late to Japan. 武田は notes こう言ってる、記してる。that home telephone 家の電話でいいのか。家庭用の電話came relatively late は came 来ました。relatively late 比較的遅く to Japan に。It was not until the early 1970s 1970年の前半までなかった。だから1970年の前半以降出現したってことやな。The home telephone surplus of this telephone in number. 家庭の電話は surplus 超える勝る。家庭の電話が超えました。Office phone in number 数字で。家庭の電話がオフィスの、仕事場の電話事務所用の電話を上回りました。1970年の前半に。ホームテレフォンは Place near the front door. 家庭の電話は be placed 置かれます near the front door. 玄関の近くに、玄関の近く halfway between the public and the private area of the home. 家のプライベートエリア、プライベートエリア、プライベートエリアだろう。個人的な場所と、パブリックエリア、公的な場所の間の、廊下、ハーフウェイ。ハーフウェイ廊下玄関の近く、つまり家の公的な場所、私的な場所の中間に、ハーフウェイ、ビトウィン、中間とか、そうか、ハーフウェイ、中間。これは、あれか。就職か。ドア、つまり、halfway between the public and private area of the home, with the appearance of cordless phones. コードレスの無線の電話の登場に伴ってと、しかしながら、無線の電話の登場に伴いによって、テレフォンスペース became increasingly personalized. テレフォンスペース、電話を使う場所、電話のスペース、電話のスペースは became increasingly ますます personalized 個人化していった climaxing in the cell phone 携帯電話の時に最高潮に達した携帯電話の中で最高潮に達したクライマックスだ But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phones in the public space of trains and buses? しかし、why do young people feel? なぜ若い人々は感じるんですかその必要性を to talk on cell phones 電話で話すことの必要性 in the public space of train and buses 電車やバスの公的な場所で電話で話す必要性を若い人はなぜ感じてるんですかねつってんだわ。And why does that arouse such anger in others? And なぜ does that この that は名詞。Why does that arouse 引き起こす such anger そのような怒り老人 older Japanese の怒りだ。in others 他人のそのような怒りを引き起こすのだろうかなぜそれは他人のそのような怒りを引き起こすのだろうか Takeda speculates that people feel psychologically violent at being subject to private telephone space of others 武田は speculate 推測する、that people feel人々は感じてます。サイコロジカル心理的に violated, 犯された、違反された at being subject to、与えられている be subject to 支配されている与えられている何々は影響を受ける、何々にかかる、従わねば受けねばならない、必要とする、支配下にある、従属する、復習させる、何々をさらす、何々を受ける、課す、さらす、しばしば受け身で、まあ受け身だからこれだな。at being subject 受けている、さらされている the private telephone space of other 他者の電話の個人的な電話スペースにさらされている violate at being violate at この at っていうのは violate violate violate, violate 違反する、侵害する、乱す妨げる、他動詞、violate 系が犯す、冒涜する。at being subjected to the private telephone space of others 心理的に侵されていると感じるからである。無理やり付き合わされて、不快な目に遭わされて、be subject to the private telephone space of others 他者の個人的な電話空間に無理やり付き合わされて心理的に侵されていると感じるから、or the personal space of a young woman applying makeup. or もしくは the personal space of a young woman applying makeup. 若い女のメイクアップ、メイク、化粧。若い女の化粧の個人的な空間に付き合わされていると感じているから、the personal space, subject to the private telephone space と同格 or the personal space of young woman applying makeup で従属説 as if they were not there まるで they were not there そこにいないかのように彼らが or さらに悪いことにもっとひどい場合さらに悪いとor さらに悪ければ as if they were simply part of the background scenery 彼らはバックグラウンドシーン類背景の一部であると。シンプリーが多分何々すぎない。シンプリー、自然に浅いと単純に、ただ単に、率直に言って、本当に、ただ単にかな。シンプリー、ただ単に、何々すぎない。あと、バックグラウンドシーン類、背景の一部に過ぎない。like a piece of furniture or tree まるで家具や木の一部 rather than a fellow human being 同じ人間というよりもむしろ a fellow は同じとか仲間とかそういうやつ human being 人間fellow human being 同じ人間というよりむしろ木や家具の一部かのようにThey were part of かのように people feel physically, psychologically violated. はい、OK。Violent antisocial crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hitting worryingly and threatening the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more elevated level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by the everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in the midst. In While Young and We Connected, social commentator Total Gera examined the psychology of the cell phone generation. The Gera knows the home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 1930s that the home telephone surpassed the office telephone in number. Home telephones were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private area of the home. With the appearance of colorless phones, however, their space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to talk on cell phone on the private space of the train buses? And why don't they roll such anger in others? The killer speculated that people feel psychological burden at being subjected to the private trauma special letters or personal face of young women applying makeup, as if they were not there, or worse, as if they were simply part of the background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a real human being. Rather, violent anti-social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years. Genetic warning occurs in the foundation monitoring society on every level. All Japan often finds themselves puzzled or annoyed by the everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in the midst. And why do young to be connected? Social community told Takeda examined the psychology of the cell phone generation. Takeda knows the cell phone. It was not until the 19 home telephone were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private area of the home. With the appearance of correspondence problem, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to do a cell phone in the public space of train and buses? And why does there anger in others? Takeda speculates that people feel psychologically uh, like a piece of furniture, a tree, rather than a fellow human being. Violent anti-social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hitting warning glass cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, all Japanese find themselves puzzled and annoyed by who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in the midst. And why do the young yearn to be connected? Social community that talk together is a mind of psychology of the Sermon generation. Together knows that Sermon came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s long telephones surpassed office phone in number. Home telephones were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private area of the home. With the appearance of colors from hardware, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to get a cell phone in the public space of train and buses? And why does there arouse such anger in others? The killer speculates that people feel psychological barrier at being subjected to private cell phones. And why does there arouse such anger in others? The killer speculates that people feel psychological space of others, space of others, in subject, private telephone space of others, or the personal space of young people. There was, as if they were simply part of regular scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Uh, ah, Uh, Violent antisocial crimes by teenagers a sense shockwave social trauma in recent years, hitting worryingly across the foundation of modern Japanese society. At more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by the everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in the midst. And while the young people learn to be connected, social community talk together examines the psychology of social generation. Together knows that home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It's not the early 1970s, home telephones. おい、通知うるさい。Home telephone halfway between the public and private area in the home. The appearance of a colorless home however, telephone space becoming relaxing cell phone. While young people feel averse, as if they are simply part of the background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Ah, violent antisocial crimes teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hinting warningly at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. And more every, and, and more uh, hinting warningly cracks in the very foundation of the modern Japanese society. On a more everyday level, older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in the midst. And while the young yearn to be connected, social communities talk together as the mind of psychology of the second generation. Takeda knows that home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that home telephone passed off cell phone in number. Home telephone were placed near. あれ Home telephone? おうん。ホームテレフォン、わっつってないだろ。なんつってんだよ。なんつってんのなんつってんのこれ。聞こえないわ。ホームテレフォンと、ホームテレフォンと、ホームテレフォンと、ホームテレフォンと、フェイスニュー。やばいって。聞き取れん。Native Light Japan. It was not until the 1970s home telephone surpassed office cell phone in number. Phone was placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private areas of the home. With the appearance of colors phone above, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But for young people feeling yet to talk to cell phone in public space of trying the buses, Takeda speculates that people feel psychological barriers as being subject to the private telephone space of others, but the personal space of young others was as if to simply part of background scenery, like a piece of furniture or tree, rather than a fellow human being. Antisocial crimes of teenagers are essential good, warning that trust and bad foundation in the modern Japanese society. On my level, all the Japanese ah, ah. Violent and social crimes by teenagers have sent shockwaves through Japan in recent years, hinting radically at cracks in the very foundation of modern Japanese society. Um,なんで聞き取れないんだ、ここ。なんでこんな。でも、more every level こんな簡単なのに。なんで ?Sorry. More every level. More every level. なんで聞き取れないの ?more every level. 意味がわからん。Sorry. More every level. Older Japanese often find themselves puzzled and annoyed by everyday behavior of young people, who often seem like aliens suddenly dropped in their midst. And why do the young want to be connected? Social commentators talk together examine the psychology of the second generation. Takeda knows the home telephone came relatively late to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that home telephones surpassed office telephone in number. Home telephones were placed near the front door, halfway between the public and private area of the home. With the appearance of careless home hardware, telephone spaces became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to lock on a cell phone in the public space of the buses? And why does it lose such anger in others? The killer speculates that people feel psychologically violated as being subject to the private telephone space of others, or personal place of young human makeup, as if they were not there, or worse, as if they were simply part of the background scenery, and piece of furniture or tree, rather than fellow human beings. はあ、なんか、 下手になってる気がするな。Some financial patterns are annoying, are evident in young people who often see aliens suddenly drop in their midst. In why do the young to be connected? Social communities are taught together aid the mind and psychology of the cell-phone generation. The kid knows that home telephone can relatively relate to Japan. It was not until the early 1970s that home telephone surpassed office telephone in number. Home telephone were placed near front door, half a between the public and ah, telephone space became increasingly personalized, climaxing in the cell phone. But why do young people feel the need to draw telephone in the public space, train and buses? And why the rules are changing others? Survive telephones, special others, or the personal space of young are prime maker, as if they are not there, as was, as if they simply bother working scenery, like a piece of furniture on a tree, rather than a fellow human being.